There are shows in this world that we will never fully understand, except Ghost Adventures. We have watched every episode to build our obsession, our fandom.
Watching alongside each other because no one we know really gives a damn. Watching Zach and crew catch groundbreaking proof of the paranormal, inspiring us to explore our own interest in otherworldly phenomena. This is our podcast. We are Paranormal Putas.
Hey, everybody. Welcome on back.
I'm Bethany.
And I'm Leah. But we're back with some personal paranormal stories, and we're going back to East Austin, where
This will be part 3 for East Austin, I think.
Yeah, East Austin part 3, which is kind of perfect because that kind of flows with our theme, right? When at the sister group, there's 3 of us, and there's 3 parts, and
Power of 3.
Power of 3, and I'm really excited about this one because it's pretty recent stuff.
Yeah, we moved back to East Austin after living in Round Rock for a couple years, and we moved back in 2002, you said?
Yeah, maybe 2003.
Yeah.
Because I remember being in my junior year or right at the end of going into senior year, maybe. Yeah.
Well, okay, so I didn't have any major paranormal experiences until, I don't know, maybe until I was like 16-ish.
Okay.
What about you?
I would say it had to have been after 2004. So at that point, I'm about 18 years old.
So yeah, why don't you go ahead and tell us your story?
So I think for me, when we moved back to East Austin, we were there, like we mentioned, 2003-ish, but around 2006. At this point, it had been roughly 2 years after we lost our mother to her battle with cancer. We were in the house, and I believe our father had moved back in because in between 2004, 2005, we were living with our older sister who you met in part 1. It was 2006, and I started to hear sounds that I can only best describe as people living, walking in and out of the house, the front door opening, cabinets opening and closing. I mean, really, it just kind of sounded like people going about, or a person going about their daily tasks, and not really messing with me in any way, but I definitely know what I heard. And it got to the point where my dad would make comments because he was back in the house, and he was like, hey, did you come back home at a certain point? And I was like, no, I wasn't there. And he would say, well, I heard the front door open, and my cat, who's in the room now, would respond to that and stuff. So, and that's kind of bleeding in a little bit later, but that's what I experienced at that house at that point.
Yeah, no, same thing. Like, it was around the time Dad moved in. I heard the exact same things that you did. And I remember we would all talk about it, like all of us. But the way I experienced it was I thought it was like Dad coming home. So like, I remember being home like alone during the summertime, and I would hear from the living room, I would hear the front door open, and you could hear everything like clear as day. It was like you heard the keys insert into the door, the lock turn, the door open, close, heavy work boots, walk through the house to Dad's room and shut the door. And like, I was like, is Dad home?
Yeah.
And I remember hearing that another time, like when I was in the restroom, like I was taking a shower, and then I popped my head out and I was like, Dad.
Yeah.
And then, I go over to the front door where you can look out to the street to see if his work truck was there. And it wasn't out there. Yeah. So yeah, it was just another one of those instances where I heard someone going about their daily routine, but I thought it was Dad. Yeah. And then there were a few times where I also heard things like you said, like the cabinets, and then like someone washing dishes, or like just someone doing their daily routine.
Yeah. And it was, we didn't get in their way, they didn't get in our way, whatever it was. I never, again, with what we're about to share and what we have told you, I never felt threatened at this location. I still don't feel threatened at that location. But I heard that I had an instance. I think at this point you were out of the house. You had moved out. So it was just me living with my dad, and I experienced a couple things, and he would share stories with me. I think some of the big takeaways really for me would be an instance where an ex of mine was, we were hanging out in the living room, watching TV, just kind of shooting the shit. And I look over at him and he's frozen. He's pale, white, frozen. He's tearing up. And I was like, oh my God, what just happened to you? And he said someone pushed him. Like he felt a force push his legs. He was up in a recliner and he felt his legs get pushed. And I kind of told him, like, joking, that's what you get for being an asshole, right? Because we were just kind of talking shit, and I laughed. And I said, thanks, Mom. Like, that's legit what I can remember saying. And I was like, it's because you were talking shit to me, so my mom just pushed you. Mm-hmm. And what kind of led me to make that comment was a story that our dad shared with me. If you're in our living room at this location and you look straight through, you can see through the kitchen, you can see through the front room. It's just a clear shot. And my dad mentioned seeing what looked like just kind of a head poke out from the wall in the kitchen and look into the living room, and he would yell at it like, what do you want? Get away from me. And he said, it's your mother. And I kind of froze when he said that, because when my mom was alive and we were in that house, she would do that to me. And he described it kind of like a bald head, and she would kind of poke around the corner and just kind of laugh and go back and do it again, because she loved scaring us. So she would do that to me. And then my dad, described the exact same thing. And so for me, I felt, well, shit, yeah, maybe Mom is here.
Yeah. I don't think I ever had, I think that's kind of cool. I never had contact like that with her. Although I do feel like a feminine energy in that house sometimes. Mm-hmm. Granted, I don't think what I'm feeling is her. I think it's something else. Something that even like Uncle Gilbert has told me, like, take your friend with you, when I wasn't living in the house and he was renovating my old room. Right. And he was like, take your friend with you. And I was like, what are you talking about? And he said that there was a woman bothering him in that room and that she would like move his tools around. Like stuff's really started kicking up in that house later, like years later after Lee had moved out. Mm-hmm. And our uncle was doing renovations. And he experienced a lot of stuff there.
Yeah. What I want to point out there with Uncle Gilbert, he experienced what he did in the room where I saw the family.
Oh, yeah. The family in the attic. Yeah.
It's that bedroom. That front bedroom has some really weird shit going on.
I mean, I really do think it's the whole house, but I do think that bedroom and the bathroom that's directly across the hall from it are some pretty good hot spots.
For sure.
Yeah. I mean, that kind of area is kind of a hot spot.
It is kind of creepy walking in between those two rooms, but yeah, I can remember, and I asked Dad here and there, like, hey, you experienced anything lately? Just because we all have these random stories, and he did tell me about Uncle Gilbert and the woman, and apparently she was upset.
Yeah, that they were doing renovations.
That they were doing the renovation. So, yeah, it's been pretty crazy.
But I did have another story that I think we kind of forgot about. I was seeing someone, and we were in the living room together, and out of nowhere, we heard like rattling in the kitchen, kind of like someone was messing with pots and pans. And so I turned off the TV. I was like, shh, be quiet. Like we got to listen for this. Because at this point, we all knew that something's messing with us in the house, or like we had so many experiences. And so I'm like, okay, be quiet. We gotta communicate with this thing. I was like so gung ho about communicating with it. So we get quiet, and then I'm like, hello? Who's that? And then we don't hear much. Like there's a little bit of rattling still. And at this point, I'm like, maybe it's a rat or something. Mm-hmm. And then we hear like a footstep because remember, okay, when you walked from the kitchen into the living room, it dips and there's that stair. But right before that stair was that broken tile.
Yeah.
And you could hear when someone like crunched on his crunch. We heard that crunch. And the dude I was seeing was like, kind of like stopped. And I was like, are you good or bad? I'm like, yes or no. And I don't remember what I said to do, but I asked it like if it's good, knock once, or if it's bad, knock twice, or whatever. Or like yes or no, once or twice. And I don't remember. All I remember is that it responded. Is that I was like, hello, once or twice. And it was like, boom. And then I asked another question, and it was like, boom, boom. Like this really loud boom that like reverberated in the walls. It wasn't just like a slap on the table or some kind of like stomp on the kitchen, floor. It was like surround sound, Dolby surround sound, boom, boom, boom. And once it had responded the second time, the dude was like, we're done. I'm going. We're leaving. And I was like, come on, man. Like, we really need to, this is my house. I need to see what's going on here. Yeah. And he could not handle it. So we ended up leaving, which is a total bummer to me because I really,
No, I did forget about that.
Yeah. But, I did tell y'all that.
Yeah. That's a big one for sure. And I do remember you telling that story. There was a night where I was also hanging out in the living room. I remember being really freaked out because it sounded like chains kind of going around the house really fast. Like someone was running around the house. And it happened and I was like, okay, that was really weird. And then it happened again. And I called someone. I wish I could remember what I really did, but it was something I'd never heard before. And for it to have gone around the house as quickly as it did, which didn't make any sense. We have fences and you would have had to jump a wooden fence and a metal fence and, and so I remember that happening in regards to kind of loud, weird sounds. I can't believe we forgot about that.
Yeah, I know. It just like came back to me. But also that the chain story reminds me of the stuff that like Dad has said he's heard in the backyard. Because like, remember they used to say that they would hear someone going through the backyard.
Right. And I think we touched on that in part 1. So I think that makes sense. Yeah, I'm just, in part 3, I'm tying that together, everybody. See what I did there? I did it for you.
Yeah. But I think that, I don't know, that was kind of a short kind of briefing of all those events. But also those events were short. They weren't super in depth. Like that night that I heard the booms got cut off really quick. It was a quick encounter. When you heard the house kind of come to life and do its routine, it was always kind of quick or like, we just kind of like, okay, yeah, whatever. We hear it so much that it became normal.
Yeah. I can't wait to come back and finish this because we still got a good handful of some pretty legitimate haunts.
Yeah, I'm surprised we didn't fit it into this episode because it turns out we have a lot more experiences in this house than we, thought we did.
So this has been fun, and we definitely hope you're enjoying it. But as normal, I need to shake this off.
Yes, me too. So let's do a blessing.
Hail to the guardians of the watchtowers of the east, the powers of air and invention. Hear me.
We are cleansed.
We're cleansed. I feel good. It was a good ride, and we can't wait for you to join us for East Side Haunts. At this point, part 4?
Wow.
Man, so much for the Mark of the Trinity. Yeah. We're going into this full steam ahead. So join us.
Thanks so much. As always, we send you off with love, light, and some besitos.
From these two putitos.